Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and today I'm joined by Eric.
Hi, honey bunny. I'm Joy.
Today we are doing a Gone Too Soon, which I love. I love canceled shows. So we're going to be tackling 2000 Malibu Road. I got a little ahead of myself. Which aired in the summer of 1992. It was an Aaron Spelling show. So I'll roll the credits and we'll get right into it. So right off the bat, this is a fully stacked cast. Like,
Wait, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We got to talk about this cast. We could talk about this cast for like 10 minutes.
yeah. Well, just even going by
Easy.
like the main cast members in the opening credits, we have Lisa Hartman Black, who's credited as Hartman Black now, so she's married. From Knots Landing and music.
Which it said Lisa Hartman Black in it, right?
Yeah,
So she was married at that
yeah.
point. Yeah.
Mhm. Um, I don't know if you know who Tuesday Night is, but she was Patricia Arquette's
Um,
recast in the Elm Street
yeah,
movies. Yeah.
yes, I do. And I met her and she's awesome. She's very sweet. And I wish I watched this show before I met her because now I'm like, I actually, when I did meet her, so she plays Joy, who I am today.
Mhm.
And she was great in this, like so great. And when I met her, I watched her episode of Profiler. I don't know if you ever heard of that show. It was from the
I
90s
heard,
as
yeah, I've heard
well.
of the show. I just never watched it.
It's good. It was along the of your boyfriend, Michael T. Weiss. He did The Pretender, and
Hmm.
there was the Profiler, and they crossed over, like it was like the same universe.
Yeah.
So I talked to her about that because her episode wasn't on the DVDs because she sang like a song on it and they didn't get the rights or something. So they left her one episode out, that episode.
Oh
So
wow.
I Googled it, I YouTubed it because I was like, I want to see the episodes in order. Like, because this is
Yeah.
like you kind of have to see it in order. It's like a murder mystery type show. So
Okay.
that's kind of annoying that they left that out. They could have
Mhm.
just cut the song or like made it mute or something during that part, whatever. But yeah, she even told me about that too. But anyway, moving on. There's a lot
um,
of cast.
You mentioned Michael T. Weiss. He's also a main cast member, my boyfriend. It's funny
Yep.
because Greg, so I watched it last night and Greg was sitting on the couch and he's just like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, a show." I said, "A show Drew Barrymore was in." So then he's like watching it and he actually was watching it. He fell asleep, but he was like, "Wow." He's like, "Brian Bloom." He's like, "I was just Googling him." And I was like, "Who's Brian Bloom to you?" I know who Brian Bloom is in the soap opera community. Like,
Hmm.
my office, he's like a local celebrity here because he went to high school on Long Island. My office manager went to high school with him.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, and I was so little quick story. She I'm at work one day and some song is on and she's like, "Oh, this feels like a soap opera song." And she's like, "Isn't it from like General Hospital?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And she's like, "Don't you watch that?" And I'm like, "Days is more my show, but like I don't know what you're talking about." She's like, she's like, "I went out with somebody that was like on a soap opera." And I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "Yeah." She's like, "He was on As the World Turns or something, which filmed in New York, so that makes sense." And I'm like, "Oh, who?" And she's like, "I don't know. He played somebody like Dusty." And at first, I was like, I dropped everything I was doing. I was like, "Bitch, let me find out you made out with Grayson McCooch." She was like, "No." She's like, "No, Brian Bloom." And at that point, I'm like, "I don't know who that is." She's like, "Yes, you do." And I'm like, "No, I don't." So then we like Googled him. He was like on Oz. He's done a bunch of stuff. So
Yeah, and he's in Melrose Place too. I
yeah.
mean,
And
which
so Greg was like, "Oh yeah." He's like, his grandmother lived nearby, and I used to see him like at the supermarket all the time. I'm like, "What?"
that's so funny. When I looked him up last night, because I remembered him in Melrose Place, but I was and the Dusty. I didn't. I've only seen a couple episodes of in the
Hmm.
'80s of him as Dusty,
Hmm.
but I didn't. He's a huge voice actor now. Like
Oh, is
he's
he?
yeah, huge. Like he has 219 credits, like or something like crazy, and 100 of them are voice acting. Like it's crazy. Like he's like big into the voice acting, which is
Um,
funny because I never see him at the cons that I go to. Like I always figured he definitely would be there.
Probably the most recognizable name in the cast, Drew Barrymore. Like, what? How did that happen? It's very strange because she had a film career at that time.
Well, do remember she does have the rights to Charlie's Angels, which is why she did the movie. So I'm guessing she had to meet Aaron Spelling at some point to buy the rights from
Oh,
him.
okay. Hmm. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm pretty sure she still owns the rights because she makes money off like whatever they make Charlie's Angels, the
I
show
didn't
they
know that.
redid. Yeah.
Um, so all right, who else is in the main cast? Oh,
Jennifer Beals from 80s
oh, right.
classic Flashdance.
Yeah, fun Flashdance. And
She
the L
stood
Word
out.
after this, the L Word.
She stood out for me, and yeah, the L Word, the lesbian soap, right? Isn't it like a
Yeah,
lesbian,
yeah,
like a Queer as Folk, but for lesbians?
yeah.
I need to watch it now because I'm like, she was excellent in this, and I'm like, first, yeah, how did they get her? She was like a movie star at that point, and got her. Like
Maybe
the people
Aaron
that they
Spelling
got,
was the draw for it.
like Tuesday Night stole the show. Like she stole the show. I was like, this woman is insanely great
So
in
yeah,
every way.
once we get past the credits, which like they didn't even have like an opening scene before, like a cold open, it just like went right into credits and then like the show started. And even like the guest star credits,
Uh-huh.
I'm like Robert Foxworth. I'm like, are you kidding me?
So also Tuesday Night, she guest stars in Santa Barbara at one point.
Oh really?
I looked it up. She plays a hitchhiker in one episode.
Did you happen to see what year?
1988. So we got like a
Oh, we're
long time
really
to go.
far away from that. That's
So in
probably the
about
same
10
year she did
years,
Elm Street.
when we're still around in 10 years, when we get to 1988, we're so gonna find Tuesday Night.
Yeah, so Robert Foxworth, I was like, whoa.
Yes.
And then Robin Strasser, I was like, are you
Yes.
kidding me?
Robin Strasser. And what I loved about this, I'm like, it's a Knots Landing reunion, but never happened because what's her name? Lisa Hartman was not on when Robin Strasser came on later. So I was like, so they never actually, and I'm like, oh, and they got to be in the same cell together. Although I'm like, you got Robin Strasser and you gave her this 5 second part. Like, what?
Yeah, so I kept looking for Robin Strasser throughout the whole episode, and I didn't realize that when they first showed her in the cell, like the holding cell, that was her. Because I felt like she looked too young to be Robin Strasser at that time. But then when they showed her at the end, I'm like, oh, that is her.
Yeah, well, it was 1992. Yeah.
um, so I guess we should just start from the beginning.
Well, wait, we
Lisa
got Scott Bryce too, who's a big soaper.
Scott
He was
Bryce,
in
yeah, and
Popular.
he's been in a bunch of primetime stuff.
Beacon Hill is his most recent, which is like an online soap opera. He was in Gossip Girl, As the World Turns, One Life to Live, and Popular.
So I know him as the dad from Popular because that was before I started like really getting into soaps. So
Yeah.
then now when he pops up in all these soapy things that I watch, I'm just like, oh hey, it's the dad from Popular.
And how funny that his name got to be Scott. I'm like, oh, he gets to play himself. Like, okay.
I think he's probably most notably in the soap world known for Craig Montgomery on As the World Turns,
Yeah, he was
which
the
I wonder if he
original.
was on with Brian Bloom. That's a little As the World
He
Turns.
was.
He
He
was.
was. Yeah, because I think Scott Bryce started, I want to say 84, maybe 83. I've seen a bunch of episodes with him before he was the villain he became. He wasn't a villain at
He
first.
must have went back to As the World Turns after this
He
because I
did.
was watching '93 and he was in it. It
Yeah,
was
I think he was recasted multiple times, I think. And then like I saw John Lindstrom played Craig Montgomery.
Hunt Block played him for a few years.
Yeah, and then like but when John Lindstrom took over, like right after that, I think they got Scott Bryce back for the finale, I believe.
Oh, okay.
'Cause I watched it then, so I saw the two Craigs.
Okay.
I only watched it for like 5 years, the last 5 years, I think. But
So one of the names that Lisa Hartman Black's character goes by is Jade. So we're just gonna call her Jade.
well, it starts out, yeah, with
Yeah.
her as Jade.
She's in bed with Robert Foxworth's character.
Get it?
I was like, oh wow. It was really cool. Now that you told me that he was up for the role of, or maybe you didn't tell me, maybe Lynn did. You or Lynn, one of the two, told me that he was actually up for the role of JR, but he turned it down. He was a
Yeah.
little bit villainous in this, and I was like, I could see it if he would have took the role.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah,
in
he
bed.
was fun.
I'm not sure if she wanted more, a commitment, and he's like, I can't leave my wife, or if it was vice versa. But they end up swimming in the ocean, and he tries to drown her.
Is he trying to drown? I know they were like playing around. So did he
No,
try to
he had
drown
a
her?
look on his face. He was trying to keep her head under the water. He was trying to drown her.
Oh, so he was. All
Yeah.
right.
So I was really confused about this whole wired tap thing. I didn't know if they were trying to catch him or her. Like I didn't know like, what was happening in the beginning.
Yeah, I'm still not sure because like they link it with him later, I think.
Yeah.
But but I'm still confused.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
confused about that. I don't know what's going on there. Um,
yeah, we'll
so
find
she
out, hopefully.
manages to get out of the water and she's fine. But so her line of work is she's a prostitute. She's a high-end prostitute. And after that, she's like, I'm done. She has another incident before she's done.
Has this
um,
beautiful house on the beach, which is like, it's like, I feel like it's like Kimberly and Michael's, but like with no color in it. It's like just all
it's
white.
but it's bigger. It's like a mansion. I feel like because
Yeah.
she's like well, when she gets roommates, she's like my part of the house is private.
I mean, it's, yeah, she calls it a mansion, but it looks not like that big when you
It
see
was
it when
definitely
it's
bigger
all
than
white.
Michael's beach house, Kimberly and
Was
Michael's.
it?
Yeah, like twice the
Well,
size. I feel like.
we'll see.
Maybe it just didn't have furniture. I feel like they didn't have a lot of furniture inside.
They didn't. There was like nothing in there. It was just
Right.
like white walls and maybe a table. It's a boring house.
Um, so she gets a phone call from a guy that was telling her, him, still unclear, that she takes it on as a client. He offers her 3,000. So she's like, all right, 3 grand, fine. He shows up with a woman and she's like, it's extra or whatever for, group or whatever. And he kind of like pushes her around. I think he punches her or slaps. No, does he punch
He
her or slap
slaps
her?
her. He
Okay.
slaps her. Like right away.
And
I was like, what
she's
the
like,
hell's going
"Oh,
on
you want to
here?
be rough?" She's like, "I could play rough, but it'll cost you another 1,000." So he gives her. I'm just like, really? So he gives her 4 grand, and she's like, "I'll be right back," and she comes back out with a gun as they're like trashing the place. I'm like, what are they doing? Like, I don't understand what's happening.
Yeah, I was confused too. Yeah, they were trashing the place. She comes out and I'm like, I wonder if she just like heard, like maybe she's like sensing something. I don't know. I don't know. It's weird.
So then he tries to, thinking he could overpower her, flip the gun, but she ends up shooting him in the hand. And
That
then
was
she's like,
cute.
"Next time it'll be the heart if you don't get the fuck out my house." She
Right,
didn't say fuck, but I embellished.
right, right.
This actually felt like a TV movie, like a Lifetime movie to me.
It did. It did. It kind of was. I mean, it was a 2-hour pilot, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, so they leave. And then we see Jennifer Beals' character, Perry. Was that her name? Perry?
Yeah.
She's a lawyer. Um, Apparently, she lost her boyfriend, fiance, who was a detective. He was killed in the line of duty. And she just wants a fresh start. And I liked her little friend that she was talking to, her work friend. She was like, I'm thinking
Yeah.
Malibu. And she was just like, what? She's like, it'll take you like 2 hours to get here.
I know. I made note. I'm like, she wanted. I thought she was like wanted like a break, but she didn't get one. So I'm like,
Yeah, she's like, I want to start over, start fresh or whatever. She's like, maybe I'll rent a room. So then
yeah,
we lead into now
me and my
Jade.
sister Lindsay come in.
Who?
Lindsay and Joy come in
Oh, so Lindsay's an
when
actress.
Perry's in the room. Yeah.
I got really excited because when Joy was sitting waiting for Lindsay to finish her audition or whatever, the actress next to her that was like, "Oh, are you reading?" She was from Pacific Palisades. That was Beth.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
notice.
I always recognize her voice. So when I heard it, I was like, "Wait a minute." And it was
Wow.
her. And I was like, "Oh, look at her," and another Aaron spelling thing.
Aaron kept her around a
Yeah.
few years.
So she did this. She did Pacific Palisades, and she did Titans.
Well, she only had that one part. I didn't even notice.
Oh. I'm
So it's
just
a
saying that's
very
for like
bit.
Aaron spelling like
Right, right, right.
connections.
Yeah.
Um, so Joy is Lindsay's sister. She's her manager. She refers to herself as the fat sister,
Yeah.
which I feel like they maybe padded her. I feel like they like put like a fat suit on her or something because Tuesday Night doesn't really have that body.
Yeah, well, they dressed her shitty. Like she's dressed like frumpy, and she has like this terrible brown wig on, or I'm assuming it's a wig. It almost looks like they're gonna clean her up and make her like a swan at some point. I don't know.
Well,
You know, like
she's
Chloe.
got a mean streak to her.
Oh, Main Street. That bitch
Yeah,
is crazy.
Well,
In the best way ever.
they end up touring Jade's house and wanting to rent a room because now Jade needs roommates because now she's out of the line of work that she was in, and she needs money to pay the rent on the house.
Yeah,
So the sisters Joy and Lindsay are going to share a room, so there's another room available. So Perry takes the other room, and she's like, "My side of the house is private. Don't answer my phone," and that's that.
Jade says that, right?
Jade says that, right?
Yeah,
Um, so I guess what's his name, Scott? Well, because you said he plays Scott. Scott
yeah,
calls, and he is a neighbor, a beachfront neighbor, and
yeah.
he wants to get a little action from Jade, but because Joy is a little snoop, she like went into Jade's bedroom and she answered the phone when she was told not to.
And she's looking through like a book or something.
Right. And she kind of like puts together like what's happening, like her line of work, and she says he thinks that she's just like one of Jade's girls, like she's running a brothel or something.
Yeah,
And she
what did
says
she
like
say
her
her
name is
name?
Minot. So he comes to
Mignon,
the house and he's
Mignon,
in
or something. I'm like,
Barrymore and
is
he
it?
like attacks her.
Yeah, like it was like Mignon or something. I'm like, what the hell's
Mignon,
that?
yeah, I like the Mignons.
Because I'm like, is that like Minion? But like,
Yeah,
I don't know. I was confused, but like, how would you make up like that name? I'd be like Grace or like some other name, like
right.
Mignon.
So he sees Drew Barrymore, I think she's
Silly.
Mignon, and he like throws himself at her and she like doesn't know what's going on.
Yeah,
But I think Perry was home. Well, I think everybody was home.
yeah. Everybody was there because
Yeah, so
that's when Jade walked in and was like, "What's going on here?"
yeah. And she
And
says
kicked
he's a
Perry
neighbor,
out.
he's harmless. And I'm like, are you serious? He just like attacked her. Like
She was saying no, 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 and screaming. He's harmless.
I think prior to this, Lindsay and Joy were on the beach and a dog had approached them. And this is when Brian Bloom's character, I can't remember his name at the moment,
Eric, it's me, Eric. How could
came
you
up and we
forget?
find out he's like part of like a famous, like, I guess, producing family or directing family. So he offers her a role in. Oh no, he brings her back to like a barbecue at his family's house, and they offer him a role or
And
Lindsay.
who's Eric's dad?
I always know him as Tony Marchette's father from Beverly Hills 90210, but he was on
Okay.
Melrose Place.
And Amanda's dad. Oh no, not dad. Amanda, where was he?
Boss.
Amanda's boss who
Yeah,
killed himself. Yeah.
yeah, they killed himself, bro.
Stanley Camel, I'm assuming that you say. I'm not, I don't know. Is it Camel? I don't know.
um, so she's so excited. They moved to Malibu and she got her acting job right off the bat. So she's like telling the roommates and her sister, and the sister pays the family a visit, and she tells them that their father passed away not too long ago, and her mother couldn't deal with it, and she killed herself. And um,
Story was great.
Lindsay was the one that saw it or found her, and there was blood all over the snow, and that's why she can't go to Canada to film this movie because there's going to be snow, and that could trigger her.
Yeah, I'm like, she's totally bullshit, and that's like, you could tell in her face when Lindsay told her that she got the job. She was like, No, you don't." Like in her face, like she's gonna
Well, she even
handle
tried
it.
to talk her out of it. She's like, "You're going to leave during pilot season."
Well, I think
And then
didn't
she told
she?
her that she needed to get a real manager and a real
Right.
agent, and then she was like, "I understand, honey bunny," and I was like, "She doesn't understand." Like, I could
Yeah.
imagine her killing somebody and being like, "I told you not to do that, honey bunny."
Yeah. I get very like if you ever seen Serial Mom, I get very like Serial Mom, like Kathleen Turner vibes from her.
Yeah.
She's like that.
So they retract the offer. They say that they had offered it to somebody else that declined, but then they came back, and because they offered it first, they had to give it to her. Well, that's what Eric
Er-
tells
Eric breaks
Lindsay.
the news, yeah.
So she's devastated, and she kind of doesn't want to talk to Eric because she feels like he played head games with her, Lindsay. But yeah. So that's that.
And then
Uh,
meanwhile, Perry.
oh no. Meanwhile, not Lindsay, Joy and Jade are on the beach and they come across the dead body of the woman that helped attack Jade when she shot the guy in the hand. Dead, and apparently Jade saw bullet holes or wounds.
Yeah, which we
Um,
find out later.
yeah.
I didn't know how they died or she died.
Yeah, I wonder why she was killed or who killed her.
Hopefully we find out. We only have 4 episodes left. I don't know what's
I
gonna
hope it wraps
happen.
up.
I don't know.
Well, a lot did happen in these 2 episodes, so maybe it's just fast
Oh my
paced.
God, so much. It hooked me right away. I loved it. I loved everything about it.
So we find out that the guy Scott that attacked Lindsay is a TV producer, or he works in for some TV production company.
Yeah.
Um, so Joy decides she's gonna pay him a visit, and she thinks she's gonna be all sexy, and he's like, "Ew, no, I wouldn't touch you with a 9 foot pole."
I know, it was a
So then
shame.
she's like, "All right." She's like, "Then I'm gonna be a manipulative bitch," and she like blackmails him.
Yeah.
That she's gonna like report the attack or whatever, unless he gives her sister a role on like a TV show.
Yeah. That was good.
So he ends up giving her a role, but during the fitting for the costumes or outfits, um, the costume designer gets a phone call to stop the fitting and escort her off the premises. Lindsay.
Yeah.
Apparently, Scott was fired because his boss thought it was just like one of his like whores that he wanted to like give a job to.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel like they had chemistry. I feel like Joy and Scott. I feel like they're gonna like hate fuck or something at some point.
I know. Because
Well,
even
she
like
seems
when
into
they,
him. She seems pretty into him.
yeah, I mean, he's a handsome man. Why not?
Or she's gonna blackmail him into sex somehow.
She's gonna do something. I don't know
Yeah,
what, but
I like it.
her vibes are batshit crazy with everybody. It's awesome.
um, so we have Jade call. I can't remember his name, but Robert Foxworth's character to meet
How?
up for lunch or a meeting, and she explains what happened with the break-in or whatever. And he's like, "I thought you were out of the business." She was like, "It was my last one."
Yeah, she's retiring.
Yeah.
Retired
And
hooker.
he kind of in the scene implies that he wants more, and she's like, "No, I'm done." She's like, he's like, "Could we at least still be friends?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, call me, or I'll call you. Don't call me, I'll call you."
Yeah.
But he's a lawyer. Apparently, he gives her advice not to report it because then she'll blow the cover that she's a prostitute, and they could prosecute her.
Well, I think it's also to protect him too, because of his family.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, so after that meeting, he like bangs on the van that the guy she shot is like listening in on, and I'm like, okay, so he's wearing a wire. To hear this conversation, I felt like through Robert Foxworth. So I'm like, what are they trying to do to this girl? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, I'm really confused because I guess like he try like you said if he was trying to kill her, I thought they were just like playing around. I didn't really get the killer vibe because I'm like if you're trying to kill somebody, you could have easily killed her in that ocean. I don't
He definitely had an evil look on his face, and he was pushing her head under the water. I don't think he was playing around. I think he was trying to drown her.
know. Maybe he was.
And he was just like, haha, I'm sorry about that. I played a little rough. Like,
I mean, she still stayed friends with him. So I was like, I mean, if you thought you were being drowned, I don't think she would talk to him again.
she's so damaged. I feel like she probably just like takes it as like an occupational hazard that people try to kill you. Like, they get
Yeah,
wrong with you.
that's true. She does look pretty beat down.
Yeah. Well, she even said in a conversation with Joy, who I keep wanting to call Tuesday,
Tuesday.
where she kind of admits her line of work, even though Joy kind of knows already.
Right.
She's like, I just had to get out before like it completely swallowed my soul or something. And she's like, "Don't worry, honey bunny, your secret's safe with me."
Yeah.
It was almost
Right. For
it was
now.
borderline irritating how much she said honey bunny.
I was irritated too, more so because I thought she was gonna have like a different nickname for everyone, but she calls everybody Honey Bunny. I'm like,
Right.
oh, she'll call her sister Honey Bunny and maybe call this one something else.
Yeah,
She
initially
did
you
say,
just think that it's something she calls Lindsay, but she calls everybody Honey Bunny.
yeah, but she did call somebody else something else later, but I forget what it was.
Hmm. Um, so Terry goes to a restaurant, I guess to celebrate her new rental. um,
Who? Perry, Perry,
what did I call her?
Terry.
Terry. Oh, Terry. And that's when we see Michael T. Weiss, who I thought they said own the place, but I guess he just works there.
Yeah, I
And
know. I was confused by that too.
apparently they know each other from high school.
Hmm.
She always had a crush on him. He's got some issues going on. He was married, divorced, had a girlfriend recently who now is apparently suing him for rape. And he's saying she's crazy. She just like shows up places screaming at me. Like,
Yeah, he's like, did you ever see Fatal Attraction? It's like
yeah.
that.
So then she's like, well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a lawyer. So she takes him on as a client, thinking that she could clear his name.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
like, see, she's already working when I thought she wasn't gonna be taking on anything, but
the DA doesn't want to scrap it. He's like, I'll see you in court on Monday. So she's like, okay, this is gonna
no,
be harder than I thought.
the charges are too serious, so he can't
Yeah.
do anything about it.
They're out to dinner one night, I guess, discussing the case and catching up. And the woman like comes in screaming, calling him a rapist, and she's like, "You better be careful. He'll do the same to you." So that was a little jarring.
Yeah,
So
her name's Allison, by the way, that crazy bitch.
the cops end up showing up at Jade's house and they arrest her. I th- I'm not really sure why. I don't know if it was the prostitution or if it was for the murder. I wasn't really clear on that.
I think it was for the murder because Perry comes there and all that stuff. So.
Yeah, so Perry offers to be her lawyer.
Oh, there was a witness, remember? Perry fills her in on the witness.
Yeah, they said that they saw her dragging like a large, like a
Yeah,
body.
it was
Like that didn't
totally
happen.
made up.
Yeah.
Right, it
So
was
I wonder
totally
who the
made up.
witness was.
I'm assuming it's the van guy
Okay.
because I guess Hal is trying to take care of her. If he can't kill her, he's going to take care of her this way and put her in jail.
Right.
I'm guessing. I don't really know. Could be wrong.
um. So Perry's pretty much like, "Don't lie to me." She's like, "I need to know everything if I'm going to take you on as a client." Um. But I don't know. They kind of have like a falling out because she fires her.
Yeah.
Um.
Well, at first, like it was going good and all that, but I think what was it? I'm trying to think of what swayed her because she was kind of working for her at first. I guess did she not believe her? I can't remember. She's just like, you have to be honest with me and tell me the truth. She wanted her to plead guilty, I think. And she's like, no, I'm innocent. Like she wanted to, and I think that's where they
Oh,
differed.
there was
Yeah.
something about plead guilty, it'll go to trial, and then I'll get
Yeah.
you off or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was
But
something
she
like
didn't
that.
want to plead guilty. She's like, I'm innocent. So that's
Yeah,
why I think she fired her.
right.
They're
Okay,
thinking
I remember
different
that
ways.
detail. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Meanwhile, so my LT Weiss's character is Roger. I was like, great. Like, I need another Roger or Robert in my life to like
Another
remember.
Roger. I know. I know. I thought the same thing. They name all of their same people, like Allison Hunter. That's the crazy bitch, and then like Allison from Melrose Place. Like we get the same names here.
So, after the incident at the restaurant, he like disappears. And this is how I found out he just works at the restaurant because I thought he owned it. Because the bartender or whatever is like, yeah, sometimes he does that. He just like leaves for a little bit to like get his head right, and he comes back. And she's like, and he still has a job, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna lay back here in Malibu. He's like, yeah, he just comes and goes as you want.
Yeah, that was weird.
So, and then she's like upset that he's gone, and she's, like, waiting laying in bed, like, drinking wine, waiting for the phone to ring, and that's when Joy comes in, and I actually kinda liked that moment. I felt like I was like, "Oh, I could like these 2 as friends," because she's like, "You're so pretty." She's like, "I didn't know pretty girls would did this too, like, waited by the phone or whatever."
Oh yeah, with Perry. I know
It was,
that's
like, a
a
nice
fun
bonding
moment.
scene. I was like, "I could get into this friendship."
So yeah, the one thing I was confused about, and I'm wondering where this is coming from with Jade's name. Remember you were saying so the girls were laying out, and Joy was like pretend like she already knew by then she was a hooker, but like was like, oh no, she's not a hooker, she was a model, and then
Right.
Jade just came clean. Said her name was Sandra Holmes, and then later on
The
they
arresting
mentioned
officer says a different name.
yeah, what was the name I had? Oh, Tremont is the name, and it's like a rich people, like a rich. The boat. They're
Yeah,
like, why
Joy's
would?
she's like, "I wonder if it's, like, the Virginia Tremonts?" I
Yeah, and they're
was
like,
like,
why would a Tremont be like being rich be a hooker? So I'm like, I'm confused. I don't know. I really don't know who she is. I guess she's a Tremont.
yeah, I
I don't
mean,
know.
obviously, she's gonna be a Tremont. That's, like, a layer to the story that we're gonna have to find
I
out.
guess yeah, because she said her name was something else too. I guess to not. I don't know. It's strange. Like I don't know what's happening with this name situation.
Hmm. And also, are the Tremonts like the Ewings? Like, why would somebody
I'm
outside of
guessing.
Virginia know who a Tremont is? Like,
I'm guessing it's similar like that for sure.
yeah. Um, we see Joy go over to, Scott's house, and he's, like, hooking up with another girl, and she's just kinda, like, being a voyeur watching them fuck. And I almost felt like
Sure is.
wishing it was her.
Probably.
I was like, "I don't know what she's gonna do because she's crazy, like, is she gonna storm in and wanna join in? Like, what's gonna happen?"
She wants that D.
So,
Eat it.
clearly, she has a little thing for him.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, that was pretty much it. Oh, Eric, apparently is working on his own movie, and he offered Lindsay the role in it, and she's like, well, he didn't offer her the role, he wants her to read for it, and if she's right for the part, because she's like, "I don't know about this." She's like, "'Cause you gave me a role, and the next day you take it away." She's like, "I don't know what kinda game you're playing," and he's like, "No, I want you to read for it." So,
well, he was supposed to go out of town to film that movie with his parents, but
mhm,
stayed back. I'm assuming because he's pressing on her, and he wants to work on his own thing.
yeah.
So,
So,
and we also missed about Jade's jail time with Robin
Robin
Strasser, the
Strasser.
other hooker. I'm like,
Well,
they could have
so in
given her
the
a
holding cell,
name.
she's like, "Oh, you're like," she's like, "You got cigarettes or something like that?" And she's like, "No."
Yeah,
She's like, "I really am not in the mood to, like, talk right now," or something. And she's like, "Oh, you're like a high-end whore," or something like that.
yeah. And then when she comes back later, she's like, "Oh, and you're a murdering whore."
Yeah. And she basically says that she's gonna get the death penalty. They like to kill
Yeah,
them. One thing that was said twice in this episode was, like, in this climate of this reactionary climate, and I'm like, "What was going on in 1992 that it was a reactionary climate?"
yeah,
She's like, "You're definitely gonna get the death penalty in this climate," and I'm like, "What?"
yeah. Right.
So
So I guess
I
Jade.
didn't do too much research on the show because I didn't want to be spoiled on anything. But it came out in the summer of '92 in August, only a month after Melrose Place premiered. And honestly, based off of Melrose Place first season, which we all know was really slow until like other people started showing up, like Heather Locklear and what's her name, the one that played Joe,
Daphne Zuniga.
Daphne Zuniga. Um, this felt like the better show, honestly. I think it was a network thing because it
It
was on
was.
CBS, which
Uh-huh.
is also why I feel like Central Park West didn't make it because it was on CBS.
Yeah. I guess
um,
CBS didn't do good after Dallas went off.
it probably had good ratings for Fox, but not for CBS. CBS was very trigger happy.
Yeah, I read that it had good ratings, but their ratings dropped. And then something with Melrose Place was on at the same night or something at the same
Mhm.
time slot.
Right.
And Aaron Spelling, it looked like when I read, it looked like Aaron Spelling had to pick one or the other. It looked like it might have been that.
Yeah,
So he
from
picked
what I
Melrose
gathered,
because it was out already.
it sounded like there was more red tape with CBS and he just didn't want the hassle. He had more, like, free reign at Fox, so he just wanted
Right.
Melrose Place. Like, maybe there was more network interference at CBS.
And we gotta go back to the show because what's her name? Jade's still in jail, and they won't even like let her have bail, which I thought was
Right.
kind of crazy.
Well, that's how it ended in her jail cell after Robin Strasser said, "You're a murdering whore."
And she tries to get a hold of Hal, thinking he's gonna help, but clearly he's not,
Yeah.
because he's a bad man.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought Tuesday Night totally stood out in this. Like she killed it in this role. She was like this role was made for her. She was great.
I actually really liked it. I didn't know what to expect.
Me
Um,
neither. I had no idea. I've
so
had it
I mean,
for years.
I still don't know
Uh,
what to expect, honestly.
yeah, I had copy it of it from on VHS or something for many years, and I probably still have it somewhere, but I've never watched it because, like I said, I always like better quality things, and this was decent quality.
Yeah, it was
The
decent.
the sound was great, at
Mhm.
least, so that was cool. I would
The
like to
only
see
thing
it
that
in
was a
HD.
little iffy were, like, the darker scenes, if like, in the
Yeah,
background, if somebody was standing, it was a little, like, hazy to see, but
yeah,
that's also because of the quality of TV back
but the
then.
close-ups were good.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see more, so we're gonna crank these out. 'Cause I want to keep going.
I was thinking about it, I was like, "I'm gonna fall in love with this show, and I'm gonna be so sad once we get after episode 6, and I'm gonna be mourning a show that ended, like, 40 years ago or 30 years ago."
Yeah, and it aired the same summer as the other one I'm doing, Swan's Crossing, which is this is fun. It was a big year for soaps, I guess.
Yeah, 92.
Starting, ending, short-lived, whatever.
Do you have anything else in your notes before we wrap this up?
No, I think that's it. I think we covered most of it.
Alright.
The
Well, thank
important
you for
stuff.
joining us for our new Gone Too Soon coverage of 2000 Malibu Road. As always, you can find us on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. Until next time, have a great night. Bye.
Bye.